Hello, I am Kim Soo-chul. I sing and write music. Everyone started out unknown. Whether they're a business person, an artist, or from any field, it's not as if those people were successful from the very beginning. I hope today will give encouragement and comfort to all of those who are struggling. After the College Music Festival was first established, I participated around its second year. Back then, there weren't any R&B ballads. People usually performed quiet music or a bit of go-go music, things like that. But I did what's considered heavy metal nowadays. Pretty loud stuff for the preliminary round. So I played heavy metal for the first round. I struck a single note, just one sound. One of the judges suddenly stood up and said, "What are you doing? What is this?" Then he said, "Get out." So I had just played a single note. I didn't even sing. I hit that one note, and before I could do anything else, they told me, "Get out, get out." So I was just dropped out like that. Things were different compared to now. Back then, there was no such thing as social media, so we had no power to protest or anything like that. So though I hadn't even started, when they told me to leave, I had no choice. And there were still a lot of other students waiting. So I was really discouraged. I decided not to try again, but my bandmates still had some lingering attachment. So they said, "This place isn't right for us. Let's try somewhere else." So we went to another broadcast station. And you know what happened earlier. So this time we played something more subtle. Normally, that's not our style, but we played quietly for about 8 bars. We just kept playing that subtle song, and everyone stayed still. So we kept going, and when the time was right, we hit it hard as our usual style, and they were like, "What the heck is that? You get out." At that time, it really hurt me. I was about 20 or 21, and failing again made me feel frustrated, like they didn't even listen and just judged us. But I was kicked out just because they thought I was too loud. Because of that experience, I don't judge auditions. When young people come in, if there are 50 candidates, you have to eliminate 40 of them. And all those 40 people go home wounded. In that moment, they feel like their dreams are shattered. So I don't like letting down those growing young talents. You know, JTBC used to be called TBC. Back in the day, they asked me to participate again, and in that process, there were some people who were a bit odd, you know? There were actually people who liked that noisy style. And the JTBC producer kept asking me to do this college festival competition. They told me to participate in the National College Festival competition. So I said, "I'll probably get dropped out. If you don't like loud music, I won't go." Then he said, "This one's live broadcast." So there was no way that could happen. As long as you show up, you get to sing your song all the way through. Oh, really? Yeah, really. So back then, the reaction from the college students was so enthusiastic that we ended up winning an award. We actually won a prize instead of getting kicked out. So at that time, you know, they called me the little giant. Up to this point, these are just college memories, good old memories of failing and all that. In fact, I started music way before, but I couldn't pursue it since my parents were against it. So all throughout college, I didn't really study and just focused on music. But since there was no guarantee for the future, things felt bleak. By the time I graduated, how should I put it? I couldn't see anything ahead of me. It was pitch dark. That went on for 6, 7, even 8 years. So, what does it mean to be unknown? When you're an unknown artist in your 30s, you don't get any respect. So, when everyone else is sleeping, you have to sing. That's why, whether it's morning or 12 o'clock at night, I had to sing all 10 songs, including "A Flower That Hasn't Bloomed Yet." I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be rushed for a whole hour, trying to finish everything in a short time to cut down on production costs. Anyway, I once ended up doing the movie Whale Hunting by chance because they said I suited a character. The character, Beyonce, is a bit of a goofball. He's a character who's clumsy and lacking ability like me, can't see what's ahead, and is kind of foolish. While I was working on that, I couldn't finish what I mentioned earlier, and it ended up failing. No one knew about it at first, but then it gradually started to gain attention, and eventually it became a big hit. So, anyway, at that time, I even became Singer of the Year and received about 16 awards in a single year. But at this time, I was also studying traditional Korean music, which I had started dabbling in during college, working hard day and night, singing pop songs during the day, and studying traditional music in the evening. The thing about traditional music is that you have to learn directly from a master. It can't be taught through modern education methods. You have to learn from a master, memorize everything, and then apply it yourself. That's why it's so difficult. But strangely enough, I was drawn to it. So I never stopped studying. After doing that for several years, Korea's first international event was the 1986 Asian Games. I was in charge of the music for the Asian Games. Since I was working on an international event then, I felt I should introduce our music to the world. I had studied traditional Korean music since 1980, and the Asian Games were in 1986. After 6 years, for the first time, I began composing serious pieces based on our traditional music. Have you ever heard of Guitar Sanjo? I guess you haven't. I'm actually the one who came up with the name Guitar Sanjo, and I pioneered a new genre. Using the guitar, which is recognized worldwide, I composed pieces that modernized our rhythms and melodies in a way that people familiar with the guitar could appreciate. So I introduced this at the Asian Games, and the results were very good. After that, I released an album. I released an album in 1987 based on what I had learned from studying traditional Korean music. But since it didn't seem so profitable, I said, I'll cover all the costs. So please just help me release it. As you all know, that was the era of LPs. There were no CDs back then. Then, about a week after the album was released, I got a call from the company. Hello? Kim Soo-chul? Yes, it is. Then they said, it's not selling. Seems we did this for nothing. We're going to dispose the leftovers as scrap. So just be aware of that. Wait, how many copies were sold? 575. We told you not to do things like this, so why did you? You could make money singing, so why are you doing this? Then they hung up. When they dispose of it, the items that are out there get returned to me as, well, returns. They come back as returns, and then, the stocks, they would break them, melt them down, and use the material to make records for other singers. So the tens of thousands of copies I made were all disposed of, returned to me, and I ended up with a debt of about 70 million, no, almost 100 million won. That was back in 1987 or 1988, so it was an enormous amount of money, and so I was devastated again. But this disposal, it wasn't someone else's work. I had spent 7 years pouring my heart into studying and composing all this music, compiled everything, paid for it myself, and released it myself, only for someone else to throw it all away. So this wound was even deeper than the one I got from failing the college music contest earlier. For about a month, I lived in a state of utter gloom. I had no courage, no hope. What was the point when the company just discards everything if it doesn't make money? But I had pride in what was ours. Pride. There's nothing else that allows us to take pride in our own culture. So even though I was hurt, I decided I would just keep working hard until the end. Then, when the debt reached about 100 million won, the company pulled me over. I had to make a choice between two options: whether I should pursue something with mass appeal or stick to the path I had been walking all along. But no matter how much I thought about it, I felt I had to do what I wanted. If I just chased money, it wouldn't work. So I decided to stick to my own thing. Around this time, I was thinking of doing a one-man band, which I wanted to do since my college days. A one-man band. A one-man band means playing the drums, the bass, and everything else yourself, all by myself. So before it got any late, I decided I should give it a try. Later, I mixed everything together and made an album. Of course, the company didn't like it. He's doing something weird again. There's nothing good about them disliking it, because people only realize my album is out if it's stocked in stores nationwide, right? But they just don't put it out there. So once again, I'm the one who suffers the consequences. But I was going to follow my own path. The important thing is that there's meaning in sticking with what you love until the end. But then, after releasing the one-man band album, that started to flop too. While it was failing, why are you laughing? Wipe the smiles away. I'm talking about failure here. I was completely going downhill, okay? Then a producer friend from NBC said, "Hey, you released an album, so why don't you come on the show?" So I said, but the title track is a quiet one. Always an outsider. I'll just play that quiet song and leave. Hey, I saw this another track that seems interesting. He asked me to do that one, but I couldn't dance. I had only played in bands. I couldn't twist and dance like the lady pop singers do. I just couldn't do it. But since it was a friend's request, I couldn't say no. It was a live broadcast. There was a rehearsal at 3 in the afternoon, and the live show was at 7 in the evening. But when I stood there and sang my song, Snap Out of It, during rehearsal, he suddenly stopped everything and said, "Hey, this is supposed to be upbeat. Why are you just standing? You should be moving, right?" There were a bunch of staffs watching, and he got angry and left. But the live broadcast was about to start. I was sweating cold bullets, trying to dance. But I didn't know the choreography, so I went up on stage like that. Suddenly, all I could think of was the gym uniform I wore back in middle school. I don't know why, but that's what came to mind. And then the intro started playing. So since I couldn't improvise during the intro, I just kept walking around. I kept walking back and forth, and when I hit a dead end, then I'd turn around and walk again. And if I got stuck, I'd come back in, go over here, and just keep doing that. Then, during the instrumental break, instead of not doing anything, I'd do this. And if I didn't know what to do, I'd just walk again and keep going like that. I went on live without knowing what I was doing. A week later, someone from the broadcasting station contacted me. "Hello, who is this?" "That's something you did a few days ago. Please do it again." "I don't know what you're talking about." "No, you know that walking dance?" "Ah, that. I really don't remember. I actually really can't. It was all improvised." Then someone from another show said, "I'll make you a video copy of that. Just do it exactly like that, please." So I got the copy and watched it. And I realized when the intro plays, I walk 8 steps, turn around, take half a step, spread my feet once, then do a little hop. And then I did all of this in reverse. Now it's for a round of applause. And that's where it really took off. After broadcasting it here, it became a big hit. Earlier, I mentioned I had 100 million won in debt. Suddenly, I got a call from the company. Now, this is what you should have done from the start. So, my debt went from 100 million to 80 million, then to 60 million, and was left with 50 million won left to pay off. What do I do? Oh, did I reach 10 million? Then I just kept doing that dance from earlier, playing that song again. I kept going, and then one day, the company called again. I made an extra 20 million won, but I didn't take it. This meant I paid off all my debt. With that remaining 20 million, I did something else. I released another traditional music album. So once again, I released another traditional music. But the important thing here is that even while doing things, you must never stop studying. Since I started playing the guitar at 15, how long has it been? For over 50 years, I've made sure to practice at least 1 or 2 hours every day. This isn't about improvement. It's about maintenance. It's about being prepared. I also kept studying traditional music. The first world-class event in our country was the '88 Olympics. Because I kept at it, I was put in charge of the Olympic music. So I ended up composing pieces for the Gaikyum, Ajang, Tae Pyangso, and a piece called Nalari. Still, the important thing is that I kept studying. I really never stopped. I would perform and I would study. But you don't make money while studying. As you know, since I wasn't going anywhere while studying, I couldn't make any money. Even though I wasn't earning anything, I had to do it. I kept on studying, and that's how I ended up working on the Olympic music. Around this time, there was one thing I had disliked for a long time. I really hated it when children sang pop songs. For a long time, I thought kids were singing about things that didn't suit their emotions. They don't even know what love is, so how could they talk about love or understand heartbreak? I really disliked things like that. So, after the Olympics, once that music was over, I started studying for children. I began to wonder, what colors do children like? What are they interested in? Among red, orange, yellow, blue, and purple, which colors do they prefer? Do they like mountains or prefer seas? Or do they like rivers? While doing this, I realized when it comes to things related to children, the conditions are always poor. Regardless, I made sure to do it at least once or twice a year. Among those, Fly Superboard became a huge hit. The reason I put so much effort into it is because for children, it tells their own stories, and for adults, it delivers a message that allows them to return to the innocence of childhood. Take a look at the lyrics. Chiki chiki chaka chaka. If you do something bad, we'll come for you. That's something for kids, but for adults, it stings a little. We are watching you always, day and night. It kind of makes you feel a pang, right? That's the kind of message we included. Since it ended up in the elementary school after school textbooks, it became widely known even now. This was back in 1991, and so it's become an invisible bridge between generations. That's how the song for children came to be. The message we wanted to give with Fly Superboard was that we shouldn't be lazy when it comes to things for children. After that, there was this film called Soundㅣ, which caused a nationwide sensation. Ever heard of it? I was put in charge of the music for that film. So, this happened because I kept studying, and someone who knew about my previous works and my Olympic music called me for this project. Director Lim Kwon-taek was introduced to me by President Lee Tae-young of Tae-young Film Company. He said, there's a young guy who's good at composing traditional Korean music. So we met, came to a good agreement, and after that, I ended up composing the scores for many of director Lim Kwon-taek's films. So with Soundㅣ, for the first time, the entire nation became interested in our traditional Korean music. So here is what's actually important. It didn't last for many years. Of course, you all often look for me. Even though it didn't last long, it still became the catalyst for people to learn about our culture. That soundtrack I made was in fact the very first original score in Korea. We even recorded in a theater, and it was the first to sell over 1 million copies. It was the time when pop music dominated the charts, and it became a film and music loved by the entire nation. So back then, I think I met almost everyone, from Mr. President to most other prominent figures. I did that for a year, and then the following year, I started studying traditional Korean music again. As I've told, you can't make money studying traditional Korean music, you need to focus in it. But I didn't stop going back to studying. And then something came up. Finally, I was asked to compose the music for the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup. You know, the group draw for the 2002 Korea-Japan World Cup was so popular, even more than the opening ceremony, because the group draw determines which countries will face each other, right? So this was billions of people we were talking about. Originally, I composed all the music for this event. I composed it, and since it turned out well, FIFA asked me to take on the opening ceremony as well. So the first time our country was broadcast live to the entire world was during the World Cup. The World Cup group draw, the World Cup opening ceremony, the World Cup matches. So I was in charge of all sorts of cultural aspects here. Of course, I composed music too, but after we had meetings about the cultural elements, when it came time to bring those ideas to life, that's when I would step in with the music and so on. That's how I developed a sense of patriotism. That's why I never stopped studying traditional Korean music. Thanks to the World Cup, our country became much more well known around the world. Now, let me say, this didn't just happen by luck. I've been studying traditional Korean music for over 40 years, up to this point. Traditional Korean music is not easy. When you get to the middle stages, you have to learn the rhythmic patterns. You have to learn the rhythmic patterns of the Honam region, the rhythmic patterns of the Yeongnam region. Learn the piri, learn the daekeum. All this for the sake of composing. It's not because I want to perform. As you keep doing this, decades just pass by. What must you do to prove traditional Korean music? Know classical music. You need to know other genres and popular music like jazz and rock as well. That's how you prove yourself. That's why it took me more than 40 years to reach there. Coming back to the point, we need to have a basic understanding of our own culture to feel pride in it. If you think we have nothing and only admire Western culture, we've already lost. Just keep watching. Trends, popular arts, and fads all come and go. Just like you descend a mountain after climbing it, nothing lasts forever. At most, it lasts 10 years. So then what? Culture is what remains. What protects it is studying. Will you pursue money or will you pursue material things? I chose music. And then what? You have to keep studying while you're at it. Choose what you love. After doing that, Keep working hard without stopping. The people who kept working tirelessly are exactly the ones we know. Edison, Einstein, Beethoven, Gaudi, all of them. Just look at these people. It's just that we always talk only about the results. Edison, who never stopped trying, was said to have incubated eggs himself. He did that all day long, though it seemed impossible. But it's while holding on that you come to realize things. So, even though it's hard, keep working tirelessly at what you love. And here, you shouldn't be half-hearted or try to do two things at once. If you're doing music, you shouldn't be running a business or a restaurant on the side. Even if it's difficult, keep working hard at what you love until the end. I am 100% certain something will happen if you do. If it doesn't work out, come find me. So find what you love, and if you keep putting in effort toward what you love, you will definitely be rewarded and get good results. Now that you all know my story, things may look nice if you only put together the good parts. The failures and things I've collected along the way are all results of studying and putting in constant effort. It doesn't just happen on its own. So if you also keep working hard at what you love, something will happen. Next, as I mentioned at the beginning, although our youth and young people these days are facing very dark and difficult times, keep searching for what you love and work hard at it, and I believe that good results will surely come. With that, I will conclude my time here at SEBASI. Thank you.